Hello, my dear students. How are you? I hope everyone is doing great. Today, we're going to start a new series of remote teaching. And as you remember, we finished 5 units of our book, and today we're going to start Unit 6, Lesson 1. So before we start, I hope every one of you having your own notebook, student book, and activity book. So let's go and we start. Okay. So get your student book, please, and I want every one of you to get your student book, Unit 6, Lesson 1. Unit 6, the main topic of it is communication. And Lesson 1, it talks about they told him not to move. What do we mean by that? We'll see. Okay, so open page 68, please, and let's go. The main goals of this lesson is we're going to read a newspaper report for specific information. We'll see which type of information they are going to provide us. And meanwhile, we need to introduce to you the reported request and the commands. What do we mean by reported? What do we mean by request? What do we mean by command? All of these stuff are going to be discussed further. So page 68, as you can see, we have the report here. It's a reading paragraph. I'm going to put the audio for you, so while you're reading, you can hear the record and read with it, please.
Unit 6, Lesson 1, Activity 1.
Listen and read.
Hero of the Highlands. Mike Fraser was a hero yesterday. Thanks to his quick thinking, he and Dave Lewis were rescued from danger in the mountains. Mike and Dave went to the Scottish Highlands with a group from the Music Now festival. In the afternoon, they went hang gliding. Unfortunately, the hang glider crashed on a mountain near Loch Ness, and Dave broke his ankle. He couldn't walk, so he and Mike stayed on the mountain and waited. They had no food or water, so they were hungry, thirsty, and cold. By the evening, they were starting to get desperate. Then Mike had a brilliant idea. He wrote a message on the ground with stones. Meanwhile, group leader Rob Townsend was trying to find Mike and Dave. Finally, he decided to contact the police. He dialed 999 on his mobile phone, and he asked the police to look for the missing teenagers. A police helicopter flew over Loch Ness, and the pilot saw Mike's message. Dave and Mike were rescued and flown to hospital in Inverness last night. Later, Mike spoke to our reporter. We were incredibly relieved when the police helicopter arrived, he said. The police told Dave not to move, and they carried him to the helicopter. I climbed in after him. They asked us to put on dry clothes, and they gave us some hot soup. They were great. Dave wanted to apologize. I feel very guilty. It was all my fault, he said. Rob told us to wear walking boots, and he told us not to leave the group. But I took no notice. I was very silly. The police agreed. On the radio news last night, they asked walkers in the Highlands to be sensible and not to take stupid risks.
Okay, after finish reading it, you can go over it and read it again because it has many important information. Now, under this paragraph, we have the first activity here. As you can see, this activity is they're raising some questions. These questions related to the report that we had just read. Like question number 1, It said, why couldn't Dave walk? Okay, so Dave, the guy who broke his ankle, he couldn't walk because he broke his ankle. Why were Mike and Dave thirsty? Why were they feeling thirsty? They were thirsty because they had no water. Number 3, how did Rob contact the police? He dialed 999 on his mobile phone. Where did the police helicopter take Dave and Mike? Where? Here they're asking about the place. The police took, not him, took them, sorry, to a hospital in Inverness. Okay, it took Dave and Mike. So I made a mistake here. It should be them. Number 5, how did Mike and Dave feel when the helicopter arrived? Dave and Mike, how were they feeling? They felt incredibly relieved. Of course, they've been rescued, so what they want more? Instead of staying in the highlands, staying thirsty and cold and everything, so they were particularly specifically lost. So that is scary. Number 6, how did Dave get to the helicopter? Because he already broke his ankle, so the police carried him to the helicopter. Number 7, how did Dave feel after the rescue? He felt very guilty. Now, what's the reason behind feeling very guilty? If you can see here, he said, I feel very guilty. It was all my fault. Why it was his fault? Because Rob told him to wear walking boots and he told us not to leave the group. So they didn't do two of them. Firstly, they didn't wear the walking boots to so it's to support their feet while they're walking. And the second thing, the most important thing, it's not to leave the group. So you can stay together and one helping each other. But they didn't listen to that, and especially Dave. Now, number 8, what did the police think of Dave? Because he didn't follow all of these instructions, important stuff to do. They thought that he was really silly. He said, I'm feeling silly. They agreed with him. Okay. Now, activity number 1 is done. I hope you write the answers in your notebook. Now, before we shift to activity number 2, there is an important thing I need to explain it to you. In this topic, lesson, we're going to study an important topic, which is request and command, and what is the difference between them. So, request, here. This is the president of France, Macron. He said, would you stay at home, please? So while he was talking about coronavirus and everything, he talked to his people and he said, would you stay at home, please? While here we have the Prime Minister of UK, he says, stay at home, okay? And what's the difference between them? I'm sure you can tell. So, the first one was already a request. Macron was making a request. What do I mean by a request? It is a sentence that asks someone to do something. Okay, so it's more polite. I would ask you to open the door. I would ask you to open your books. Okay, so would you open your books? Can you do that? Now, usually this sentence ends with a full stop or with a question mark. Now, the keywords of it is would, will, can, please, may. So here we're making a request. We are using these keywords. Now, command, on the other hand, is a sentence that orders someone to do something. I'm ordering you, usually from a person who is superior than you, socially or in type of relation, like your dad is ordering you to do something, your mom is giving you instructions to do something. Usually it ends with a full stop or an exclamation mark. It depends on how harsh is the order is. Usually it starts with imperative verb. What do I mean by imperative verb? When I say open the book. Okay, so open is imperative. It's a verb. I don't add anything to it, and it gives the meaning of an order. Now, there is something we need to know. Now, I order, let's say, Yad, and I told him, open your book. Okay, and then Ava was not listening, and then she asked, I don't know, one of her friends, and she said, what Miss Samara just told Yad. So let's say her friend told her, oh, Miss Samara was ordering that guy to do that. Okay, so here it becomes reported. It's not from me directly. Someone heard it and transferred to another person. This is what we mean by reported or indirect, sometimes we call it. Now, the most important thing you need to know is that firstly, we're using two type of verbs, which is told or asked, okay? And we're going to change the pronouns. Let's see how. Now, let's start with the reported command. If I have an order, if I'm like ordering you to do something, firstly, I have two situations. The first one is if it's the command affirmative or if it's negative. If it's affirmative, I just say she told me, she told her, she told him. I put an object here, okay? Firstly, I use the verb told. Secondly, I use object, okay? To do this, we use the infinitive, okay? To, and then the base verb, we call it infinitive. If it's a negative, we say she told me, or she told her, or she told him not to open the book, not to talk. Be careful. When I have infinitive, I don't say to not, I say not to. Okay? Now let's see here. This is an example. This is direct speech. Dad, and then I put the quotation mark, as you can see. Do your homework. So as you can see here, it starts with do, an imperative verb. Do your homework. Okay? And then my brother, he was not at home. Like, let's say 1 hour later, he came and he said, I heard my dad was like, they said he was yelling a little bit. So what did he told you? So I'm going to tell him what he told me. I say, Dad told me to do my homework. So as you can see, I put the subject, sorry, which is who said this comment, who gave this order, which is Dad. And then my verb told. Okay, if I have a command, I should put told. And then told whom? Told me, told her, told my brother, told my sister. To do what? To do homework. Okay? Now, if it's negative, let's say the teacher said, don't talk to your friend. Now, how I'm going to report it? I'll say the teacher told me or told him not to talk to my friend. The most important thing to know is not to. This is another case. If I have a reported request here, a question, asking request means asking politely. Now, also it has two cases, if it's affirmative, if it's negative. If it's affirmative, I need to use the verb only ask with it. So I said, she asked, and then the object, me, she asked me to do this. She asked her to do this, okay? If I have it negative, it's the same. She asked me not to. So the only difference that I can differentiate between whether it was a command or a request, it's from the verb. If it was a command, we say told. If it's a request, we say asked. Now let's see here an example. This is a direct speech. Rob to the police. What he was like asking the police to do. Could you look for them? Could you look for them? As we say, the keyword of it is we start with could, may, can to make a polite request. And we already studied before how to make a request. Could you look for them? And there's a question mark at the end. Now, how I'm going to report it? We say he, or we say Rob. Rob asked. Okay, the most important thing we put asked. Not asked, is asked. Asked who? Asked the police. To do what? To look for them. Now, if I have it negative, it's the same. Please don't take risks. So they asked walkers not to take risk. Okay, not I don't say to not to. Now, we said we're going to study how do we change the pronoun. So in the direct speech, if I say I am doing this, he is, my book, your book, all the first pronouns for the first person, we change it to the third. So if we say I did that, we say he did that. you did that, she did that. Okay, so these are how do we change the pronouns. If we in the direct speech I said, oh, this is my book, then like my friend, he said, this is her book. Okay, so it's get changed, and I'm sure you're familiar with this. We already explained these stuff. Now let's move to activity number 2 in the same page 68. So in this activity, they said, look at these sentences, which one is request, which one is command. And it has another part, this exercise, when they ask, write the reported request and the reported command. So I'm going to do them both. Number 1, they already mentioned it for you as an example, don't move. It's clear that it's a command. And then the police asked them, it's a command, sorry, the police told them not to move. Now, number 2, could you look for them? It's a request. He asked the police to look for the missing people or for them. Number 3, please, will you be sensible? Please, will you be sensible? Is it a command or a request? It is a request. Okay, they asked workers in the highlands to be sensible. Now, as you can see, because it's a request, we used asked. Number 4, you must wear walking boots. You must, you have to. So here it's a command. Rob told us to wear walking boots. So because it's a command, we use told, the verb told. Told who? Told us object. And this is the infinitive, to do something, to wear walking boots. The most important thing to remember, after to should be a base verb. Number 5, please don't take stupid risks. Please don't take stupid risks. It's very clear that this is a request. They asked workers not to take stupid risks. Number 6, would you put on these please? Would you put on these please? It's also a request. They asked us to put on dry clothes. Number 7, don't leave the group. Don't leave the group. It's a command. So he told us not to leave the group. So please write down these answers in your notebook also to practice it more. Now, after finishing student book, I want to get shifted to activity book. And we have a very important exercise here in Unit 6, Lesson 1. This exercise is a group of people, a group of a musician, and we have Emma who was taking a picture of them and start giving them instruction. How should they stand? Sometimes she requests, sometimes she order them. Who stand in front of who? What do you have to do? Please smile. Don't close your eyes. Whatever. Let's see. The first one, Nelson. Please stand up straight. So I have here quotation mark. It means it's how did Emma said it. So she asked him to stand up straight. Why I used asked? Because here it's a request. Number 2, Dave and Maddie don't talk. She told them. Here I have a command. She told them not to talk. Number 3, Annie, could you stand next to Jade? She asked her, or she asked Annie, to stand next to Jade. Number 4, Dana, can you look at the camera, please? So she asked him, don't forget Dana, it's a boy. She asked him to do what? To look at the camera. Number 5, Rosanna, don't close your eyes. She told her not to close her eyes. She and told, okay, so I put told because here it's a command, and her, Rosanna is the girl, not to close her eyes. Number 6, Jade, please don't hide behind Nelson. So she told her not to hide behind Nelson. Number 7, Maddie, would you take off your cap? She asked her to take off her cap. Number 8, Dave, keep still. She told him to keep still. She gave him a command. Number 9, okay, everyone, don't move. She told them, or she told everyone not to move. Number 10, smile, please. She told them to smile. Okay, so write down the answers in your activity book, please. Now, if you go back to your student book, page 69, I have a very important exercise to do with you guys. It's the pronunciation one. Here I have some words, okay, and we need like these words. Some of them has 2 syllables, 3 syllables, 4 syllables, even 5 syllables. We need to stress, like when we're gonna listen to the record. In the record, they're stressing one of these syllables. We need to know which one of them. So I already did it for you, as you can see in front of you. We're gonna listen to the record, and you're gonna see the difference. Why, like here, this syllable is stressed. How? We're gonna listen to the record together, and you will see.
Unit 6, Lesson 1, Activity 6, Pronunciation.
Apologize. Assistant. Desperate. Helicopter. Hero. Hospital. Incredibly. Sensible. Teenager. Unfortunately.
Okay, so he's stressing out one of the syllables. Is the one that I already highlighted for you. Please put a dot or do what I did. It's just like underlining or circling the little syllable. Okay, now for further questions, if there is anything not clear, please you can send me your questions on the eSchool website, as we used to text there. Now, before I end this lesson, you have a homework to do. Now, your homework is 2 things. Firstly, in the student book, on page 69, activity number 8, what I have here is writing. So they gave you 2 topics to talk about. Choose one of them and write it. Please, after finish writing it, take a picture of it or scan it, do whatever you like, and send it to me via eSchool. So I can check it and help you to over your mistakes and get it back to you. Now, the other homework that you need to do is in your activity book, you have page 57. So exercise number 2, 3, 4, and 5. Exercise number 3, it's number 2, sorry, it's another practice for the reported speech. Exercise number 3, it's like we already studied that, prepositions. We choose the appropriate preposition, the correct blank. Number 4, vocabularies, and number 5, pronunciation. So at the end, please, everyone, as I told you, if you have any question, anything is not clear, I hope like you text me via eSchool, and I hope to stay safe and see you in next lesson, inshallah.